I'm speaking with Martin, the creative director of the new Driver game. Martin, can you tell me some more about where the game's roots are?
The roots of the game is really, the Driver has always been inspired by the 70s style of Hollywood car chase. It doesn't have to be 70s specifically, but that kind of real gritty, real film, non-CG side to car chase action.
Okay. And what's been sort of the major inspiration behind this title in particular?
This title, what we wanted to do was, to do two things really. Was first of all to very much go back to the roots of what we originally achieved with Driver 1 in really recreating that feeling of the Hollywood car chase, and also the feeling of it for the player from the point of view of the handling of the cars and so on. But also to give us something really new and innovative, because the first game was the first open city driving game. Driver 2 was the first that allowed you out of the car to steal other cars, even before GTA and other games like that. So what we wanted was to bring back that innovation that Driver always had, and that's why we have the shift feature in Driver.
Okay, so what are some of the more innovative features in this title?
Probably the most innovative is the shift feature, which is, it's a really groundbreaking feature. Hasn't been seen in a driving game before, and what it allows the player to do is to see the city from above and to instantaneously, seamlessly shift into any vehicle he chooses. And it's used in missions for tactics, using the cars as tools, and it's also very deeply intertwined in the story. This isn't just a weird or surreal function. This is deeply intertwined with the story, and you have to play the story through to see what happens to Tanner and why he's in this situation.
Okay, so it's not just pure science fiction then?
It's certainly not science fiction. It's actually, Driver's always been rooted in reality. So what's actually happened is that Tanner has been involved in a serious incident at the beginning of the game, and that incident puts him into a coma. And the game is about, for the player, from the story point of view, is about how does he come out of that coma, how does the player help him out of that coma, and what happens in the real world that infiltrates his mind during that coma. And these are all real things that happen to people in a coma.
Okay, great. So in a Grand Theft Auto world, what really sets Driver apart then? I mean, it's not just a purely crime-driven game, so where's the real hook in it?
For Driver San Francisco, it's now nothing like Grand Theft Auto. We don't get out of the car. We're not firing guns. It's purely about that car chase experience. And of course, the shift is totally unique, and there's no other game has that. So it's no longer, I don't think, really the same level of comparison, because we focus so much on that car chase. GTA is not really focused on car chases. It's actually more about the out-of-car action.
Cool. How do you go about dealing with the cops since it's a chase? Are we talking some pretty delicious-looking crash scenes?
Yeah, there's a number of ways of dealing with the cops. I mean, we can, if you're, you remember the original Driver game. It's a real sort of cops and robbers chase. You try steering between the trees and the lampposts to try and get rid of them. But also the shift ability gives us new possibilities. Like, for example, you can shift into a bus and try and sideswipe the guy, or you can shift into an 18-wheeler rig and try and head on the cops, or a tow truck, try and hook up the cops to a tow truck, then shift into the tow truck, and then drive them away. There's lots of things you can do.
Okay, so what was your favourite part of developing the game as the creative director?
For me, actually, my favourite bit was just recapturing that feeling of Driver 1, the handling of the cars. We've got licensed cars for the first time in Driver's history, well over 100 of them, and that whole feeling of now being in a real Driver 1 style car chase, but using real cars. For me, once we got that handling right, once we got the visual element of the handling, with hanging the back end of the car out, the big power slides and burnouts and so on, that for me was really exciting. I mean, the shiftability, obviously, but for me personally, it's to get that feeling back.
Great. Okay, that sounds really awesome. When's it out and what's it on?
Comes out this Christmas time. It's on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, and also Mac. And we have a we have a Wii version as well, which is a different game altogether. But they all release simultaneously.
Okay, and are you planning on getting any of the new motion-controlled, sort of like the Kinect or Move, in on the action?
No, we're not. I personally don't. I don't have a great feeling about motion for driving, because for me you have to be connected to something to drive. Just sort of flashing your hands around works great in all sorts of games, but driving games I'm really dubious about.
It's actually quite good to hear a developer say that. Sort of a lot of them are just sort of like, yeah, it's going to be amazing. So
a lot of people say that, but I mean, at driving you've got to be connected to the wheel. You've got to feel the weight of the wheel. It's a very tactile experience, this driving, and just waving your hands around in the air. It doesn't do it for me.
Cool. Just one last thing. Anything to do with multiplayer in this title?
Yeah, multiplayer is an enormous part of Driver San Francisco. It's actually our first multiplayer game for Reflections, and we've devoted a lot of time to it. And actually, the shiftability really transforms your perception of what a multiplayer driving game can be. Because normally in a driving game or a racing game, if you crash on the first bend, that can kind of be the end of your experience, and you may as well reset or wait for another round or whatever. But with Shift, people are constantly shifting into new cars, grabbing new cars, even in certain circumstances, shifting into cars that they steal off other players. So it's got a real sort of last-minute thing to it. You can go right to the wire, and right at the end, someone who was right behind could suddenly just snatch victory from you.
Yeah, it sounds like a way to really like reinvigorate the multiplayer racing genre.
It really does, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent, thanks.
No problem, cheers.
Cheers, man.